Detection Collaborative, a detection dog training trio with Stacy Barnett.
Hi.
Robin Greubel.
Hey there.
And Crystal Wing.
What's up?
With humor and a big dose of theory, our trio talks practical training advice and features interviews with top trainers and scientists.
It's Canine Detection Collaborative.
Welcome back to the Canine Detection Collaborative. I am one of your hosts here, Crystal Wing, and I have the most phenomenal friends that are here with us today, and they both are in Iowa. I'm so jealous. We have Stacy Barnett.
Hello.
And Robin Greubel.
Greetings.
And I'm going to be there so soon, you guys. I can't wait.
I
Can't wait either. We miss you.
I missed Distraction Camp 2 already, and now we're getting ready to do Distraction Camp 1. And I heard all of the amazing stories and all the posts on social media, and I'm just so jelly, but jelly in a good way. Like, just so happy for everybody that got to be there, and for you guys kind of doing this. What was this? What class did you kind of do instead?
Intentional handling and hide setting. It was 5 days.
It was amazing.
Of intentional handling and hide setting. And oh my gosh, ended up doing a whole bunch of blind blanks, and all sorts of fun stuff, and scent theory, all sorts of scent theory.
It was amazing.
Yes.
And the handlers, oh my gosh. And we had handlers that we had seen from a year ago from the original described, just huge growth. So
it was awesome. Yeah.
It was amazing.
So next year I'll be there. I'm sorry, guys. I missed you.
It's okay. We were kind of planning on you already, because Stacy and I are doing a hot wash as we drive to go do stuff today. And we've already thought about, well, where's Crystal plug into this when she comes back?
Aw, yay.
So yay. Yeah.
I was out having my explorations and fun out in California, and it was the most magical summer so far. And I can't wait to share all these stories. We'll have to have like a story time episode or something.
I think our next episode, we were talking about doing because we'll be able to do this is Distraction Camp 1, this is Distraction Camp 2, and this is all the other stuff we've been up to this summer. So that's the next episode.
I'm looking forward to that because I need to catch up with y'all.
Yes.
Yep.
So I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off what you just said on your intentional handling, because you mentioned the benefits of known hides. And so that's what we should talk about today, because that is definitely a hot topic. And that was something that really was huge for me, even in California. So let's get into it. So when should we use blind versus known? Easy answer. Just one sentence. Let's go.
Are you training or are you testing? Period.
Yeah.
That's right.
It. Exactly.
What about teaching?
Teaching is a known hide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't wait. It's teaching is known. You can't do blinds during teaching.
Nobody can see my face, but I just totally broke my eyebrows.
So we probably need to just do quick definitions, right?
Yes.
So talk about known. We talk about blind. And then we also often talk about facilitated blind, which are kind of three different things.
Correct.
Right. So known hides are when the hide location is known by the handler. Blind hide, right, is when the hide is not known by the handler and they basically have full control over their entire search sequence. And it's they're communicating where they think the hide is located to whoever is with them, the judge, whoever, evaluator, whatever, right? Then you have the facilitated blind where the hide is not known to the handler, but there is a little bit of a safety net, right? In which you have a coach there to make sure that the dog kind of like doesn't produce behaviors that could like a false alert or a alert off source, or basically just kind of churn and get themselves into trouble so that it causes additional training challenges. So you have kind of a little bit of the safety net as the facilitated portion. So just, I think, kind of thinking about it from that definition so that we can kind of talk about, when we're talking about the benefits of known hides where the handler understands where the hide is located.
And if we want to start talking about definitions, then there's double blind, right? And double blind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's also
right.
double blind.
And that's true testing. That's where nobody in the room knows where the hides are at all. And the person it's basically, for me, that's an operational level setting.
That is not normal in nose work as a double blind, but I have seen that once at a twist with a summit trial where the judge did know, but the judge did not give you feedback. So that produces other issues.
That's a whole other, we'll talk about that some other time. That's a whole different level of anxiety.
And whether or not it's actually a good idea to be doing that without a certain types of training.
Yes, agreed. So I think, and one of the things that when I start thinking about, am I doing this blind or not? And I have actually started asking people this question is, are you going to pay me $500 if your dog is wrong?
Okay. Your dollar amount keeps getting higher and higher.
I know. Well, I think it started out at 10.
Inflation.
It went to 100.
That's not enough.
No. And it was funny because then I had a couple of students be kind of cavalier about the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, let's have a little bit of a pucker factor going on. And we're going to go with 500 because as soon as you go 500, people are like,
yeah.
And that's the feeling I want people to have, because when you start doing a whole bunch of blinds and you're using a marker of any nature, and it goes back to the use of that marker, just even the use of the marker, even if you don't reinforce because of your reinforcement history.
Yes.
Dude, you've still rewarded the behavior you don't want.
Right. Even if you don't give them a cookie, you don't play, the dog has been reinforced just the way their brain works. And I just want to kind of throw this out there. Even if you think you don't use markers, you're using markers. They're just unintentional. Especially, and if you trial at all and you've ever said the word alert, that's a marker because your dog understands that they're going to get the reinforcement after that word alert. And if you are not actually intentionally using a marker, any kind of body movement, reaching for food, moving in towards the dog, stepping in, squaring up to the dog, whatever you want to talk about, that's all.
Eye contact is reinforcement.
Oh my gosh, yes. So all of this, which by the way, I wrote a blog recently on this. If we can probably put a link to that in the show notes.
Yep.
That talked about marker usage specifically and just kind of like all
the things.
Right. So as soon as you do that, you reinforce the dog.
And so a benefit of doing known hides, and this is one of the things that we ran across a lot in Distraction Camp 2 this year, which we'll discuss more, but is the whole concept of sniff and dismiss.
Yep.
And if you've got a dog that gets distracted and is spending a lot of time investigating something, and you don't know that it's not target odor because you're running it blind, what happens? You stand there and you linger.
Yep.
And you can use that body pressure and that cue of, oh, hey, that's something that's interesting. And you can actually, and then guess what? If you walk up and you look to see what they're investigating, even because you're working a blind, you're reinforcing your stepping in.
Yep. So then what happens, Robin?
Then they do their train final response, right? And then you're like, oh shit, that's not in. Let's move along to the next thing where they do find odor. And then you're like, you call it correctly. Guess what? You've just put a false alert in your whole chain.
Yep.
So that goes back to, oh my gosh, blinds. Blinds for me are reserved for that. I can tell you $500 worth of my dog understands odor. They know how to move on. They know how to do all of those things. and I will absolutely take that challenge. Then I'll start doing blinds.
Right.
So why is it important to incorporate both the known and the blind hides?
Actually, if we could even, before we get there, talk about the implications of a false alert, because I think I think this is a really good question that you asked, but I also just want to put a little bit of gravity on it, because I'm kind of thinking of it from a nosework perspective. A lot of times, people get falses in a trial. The implication of that is, all right, you either don't pass or you lose points.
If I have a false alert as a bomb dog or a narcotics dog handler, that's a thing.
So what happens if you get a false alert? And so this is a leading question.
A leading question. What happens if I get a false alert?
Right. In an operational setting.
In an operational setting? Oh, holy crap. I mean, and anything from, I've seen everything from, I haven't had this happen to me, knock on wood yet. And typically we have unproductive alerts is how they're categorized. It's an unprotective alert because the human can't find the thing.
Right.
Right. But I mean, if you think about bomb dogs and all sorts of things, you have the bomb squad called in, you've got things being shut down for immense numbers of times. You have people will narcotics dogs, they'll tear apart their car. All of these things for the cadaver dogs, or even
draining ponds and carrying out places and digging huge areas.
Yeah,
it's so much work.
Amount of money and time spent.
Live fine dogs, if it's a disaster setting, you could have them shut down the pile and move. Now, typically we run 2 dogs over it and they do some additional things, but it turns into this, it could be this huge, long, very expensive thing that happens. It's one of those things where putting false alerts, we talk a lot, the 3 of us, about safeguarding that detection chain and making sure you don't have additional stuff in your detection chain. False alerts is absolutely one of those things that you can build into your detection chain because you do stuff like this.
Sorry, Crystal, I knew you had asked a question. I just knew that this was kind of a part of that and wanted people to really understand why it was such a huge.
Yeah.
So and on the nosework side,
and it could cost you a title.
It could lose you a title. If you're at the summit level, every time you have a false alert, it's minus 2.5 points. And I can tell you, as someone who missed a title by just 15 seconds because we tied on points, right? Every
point counts.
And of course, time also counts. But it's just and one false alert can lose a title. Now, if you're talking, a lower level, I mean, you could have, you're just the whole day, but it's a different kind of gravity. It's not the time and money and a potential lost work in the future, right? Reputation. It's so you don't have that level of gravity, but it is still important to the nosework handler that this isn't something that we want to be cavalier about. It is, and the fact that just because it was wrong, you're still building it in. And if the dog false alerts the dog, even if we move them on, right? You're either building that into your behavior chain, like Robin said, or you're now introducing question marks into your training.
Yes.
You could have a dog that now has lost their confidence. They're not sure how to be correct. And you can, especially with a sensitive dog, you can completely spin out of control with the dog's training. So it's something that kind of we don't want to be cavalier about it. And I think part of the issue is a lot of times people are kind of cavalier about it. And they're doing I see a lot of practice in nosework, practice for the test, practice for the trial. And false alerts are just well, we didn't get it right that time. Or the handler goes the opposite way and starts to try to really kind of help their dog.
Right.
So then we have another issue. That's another podcast topic.
Yeah.
Well, and that was something really big you just said there was the dog doesn't know how to be correct.
Yeah.
And I've seen that so much. And then the handler also gets a frustration loop. And then that just adds in more to the dog. And then it's supposed to be for fun.
Yeah.
On the nosework side, especially.
Yeah.
And even I would say for the detection side, if we're not out there having fun and enjoying this, it's work. And that shouldn't be that way. It should still be based in fun, based in,
It's work when it becomes operational.
Right. And even I would say one of the things that leads me to some of the most frustrating parts when I train is when I get down or I get to a certain path and I'm like, oh my gosh, here is the decision point that I made that I am now 3 days or 3 weeks into this path. And that decision point has now created question marks in my dogs.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've really decided about when we start thinking about being handlers and being trainers, one of the things trainers are really, really good at, good trainers are really, really good at, is looking at either a situation or 1 or 2 repetitions in, and they're like, holy crap, I have to pull the plug on this because if I don't pull the plug, I am now going to create a whole host of issues in about 5 days.
Yes.
Right. And so this is why for everybody out there in little listener land, to think about when we talk about planning our training and being really specific about shifting criteria, that's why it's so important for you to know as a trainer on which criteria levers you're shifting so that if a question arises on behalf of the dogs, you don't let them make up the answer. You can always guide them to the right answer through manipulation of your training setup, not by pointing out the problem, not by pointing out the hide, but by
letting odor teach.
Yep. Letting odor teach. Absolutely.
Yep.
So is this a good time to ask my question?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, good. No, please. No, that was awesome. So why is it important to incorporate both known and blind hides into your training regime?
To be perfectly honest, some of the best scent theory lessons I have ever learned are when I know where the hide's at.
Yes.
And people always think that they, for some reason, there seems to be this misconception that you learn the most scent theory when you don't know where the hide is. And I haven't quite figured that out because the way my visual learning brain works, I have to know where the odor, because change of behavior is change of behavior on a dog for whether it's novel odor or target odor.
Right.
They change their behavior. So you watch them sourcing something out. So the question becomes, if you don't know where the hide is, that change of behavior can be on novel odor or it could be on target odor. And really knowing, okay, that's what it looks like if it's on novel odor. And this is what it looks like if it's on target odor. You can start picking apart the slight differences that might happen with that. If people come train with any 3 of us, we often say, okay, if it's a critter, that front paw comes up and they look like they're pointing. That's a gross body movement. But if we can actually tease apart earlier of, okay, this is what it looks like when it's not target odor. And I can give a hint of a, not yours, move on, whatever.
Right.
And encourage that sniff and dismiss earlier in the training. Then I also get to learn what's the difference. And if I start saying, okay, move on, and I take a step to move on. Now, keep in mind, later I'll do this when it's target odor. I continue to walk, which is an applied, it's not yours. But at that point, they should be so locked in on target odor that they still do their trained final response, no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because they're like, mom doesn't matter in that instance.
So also, I find that looking at the handlers, when handlers are thinking blinds, their brain is keyed in on where is the hide, because that's the big question mark in the handler's brain is, where is the hide? And I think that takes up part of your brain space, right? So when you're working a known hide, you know where the hide's located. You can kind of like negate all of that. And you can focus your entire observation on what is the dog telling you about this hide behavior? And if you're working a single hide, which I'm a huge proponent of doing a lot of single hide searches, when you see true odor behavior, you start to learn more about your target odor. You can start to learn more about how your target odor behaves under different scenarios, so that when you then go into a situation where you are testing, which would be like, for instance, at a trial, and you start to see some of these behaviors, you have a bigger repertoire of understanding how your odor behaves and potentially some more information about what you might need to do as a handler in order to set that dog up into the best position that they can be in to be the most effective at sourcing the final location of the hide. So I think it's a little bit of, when we're working blind, I think handlers tend to have a little bit of blinders because they're really thinking about hide location rather than observation. And so that's kind of where, my head goes in terms of the benefit of knowing where the hide is on teaching the handler that odor behavior, because every target odor also behaves a little differently. And you really have to learn what your target odor looks like and how it can present, how far it can go, especially under different situations. You've got thermals, you've got, if you've got a lot of wind, if you have no wind, if you're indoors, you're outdoors, it's what time of day is it? Where's the sun located? Like all of these things that are going to drive your odor behavior.
So during trial, are you actively just thinking about your dog, or are you also asking yourself, where is the hide?
I have to observe several things. I'm observing the dog. I'm observing the search area. I'm also thinking about my timing in terms of how far through the search area am I compared to how much time I have. So I'm managing all of those things during a trial. So all those pieces together, but you have to have the basic skill of understanding your dog's, you're understanding how your odor behaves and how your dog is going to behave with respect to that target odor. So for me as a handler personally, am I just thinking about that? No, I'm kind of more thinking about it in terms of, especially somebody who hasn't necessarily built that repertoire of really being able to read the dog. If they're learning how to read the dog, I find with working with people that a lot of times people get very focused on where is the hide and really kind of underestimate what that odor can do and how it will behave. I see this especially with much more novice handlers and those are really the ones that, in my opinion, are the most vocal about wanting to run things blind, because they're always afraid of, but what if I don't know where the hide is located?
Well, they want to practice, right?
They want to practice that.
They want to practice being able to call, this is where the hide is.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to say, like, you're stabbing yourself in the foot if you do that.
Right. Well, we'll just say that. Don't do that.
Just don't do it. Yeah.
Right. And because one of the things that I need to know, and the reason I like working known hides, is we spent a lot of time, you're getting a preview of Distraction Camp 2, which was no full frontals.
Whoa.
we had a big conversation.
We had that conversation, no full frontals.
Oh my gosh. It went wild.
But it was really funny because one of the things that you try and combat when you're doing blinds, right?
Yeah.
Is that you're trying to combat the handler providing information to the dog on where is the hide located.
Right.
And we have the tendencies as humans to do full frontals, fully facing our location of the hide, which then negates the rest of the search area.
Which is called squaring up. If people think about squaring up, it's like your feet are like kind of together, facing the dog. And this is especially impactful if you are crowding your dog, which a lot of times when people square up to the dog, you're kind of saying, I need you to search this area, and you're not giving the dog the opportunity to leave.
Right.
So you're talking about shining your brights.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
like,
all of that.
it's here. Right.
Yeah.
And so you but if you know where the hide is and you really start concentrating on not doing full frontals on your hide or squaring up the hide, it makes you much more aware of what your body language is doing to your dog.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm like, pick a shoulder, place a shoulder pointing at the hide.
Yep.
Because when you allow the dog, so if they're going in and they've given you a change of behavior and you don't square up or full frontal to that location, you now take a step back and you point a shoulder at it, you are automatically giving the dog permission to leave the area.
Yeah. It's release of pressure. So if we think about pressure, body pressure, when you square up or you do full frontals or shine your lights or wherever you want to go with that, right? That's based off of body pressure.
Right.
And by just and sometimes I I take one step back or I do a little weight shift or something like that to just kind of take some of that pressure off. I'm basically saying, yeah, you can sniff this area, but I'm giving you, because I trust your odor obedience, because I've been very diligent in my training, that if we're not in the location of the hot, you're going to leave. But sometimes it could be an odor pool, because presence of odor does not mean presence of source, right? The dog's an odor pool and we square up to the dog. It may not be like critter smell or novel odor. It might actually be target odor, but the hide may be behind you, maybe to the right, maybe to the left, right? Especially behind you. We see that a lot, right? And you've squared up to the dog. Now the dog has no other option potentially than to alert. And now you call alert or whatever you're doing, because you call alert in nose work, right? Now you have marked your dog. Now you have reinforced an alert in an odor pool. And now you also have a training issue.
Yeah. And I believe, Crystal, you were basically stalking Christy Rock at one point, because we love Christy and
I adore her.
Yeah. At one point, you had actually said, she was like, oh my God, when you have, or maybe, I don't remember who it was, when you have the desire to step in, step back. We had that whole group of nosework handlers that were there. And so it's just one of those things that we often see. Crystal's having a brain cramp for those of you in.
I mean, other people probably say it too, but
Yeah.
I tell people, because I'm trying to reverse that desire to step in. So I tell people, if you feel like you need to step in, it means you need to step back.
Right. And it comes from the desire to reward at source.
Yeah, which is
what everybody,
not necessary.
Which is not necessary. And even people in the detection dog world are taught that too, right? No, you have to reward at source. So
you said that a lot of people want to start kind of testing and trying because they want to be able to see if they can understand the dog's body language.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about that same person. I can see them asking, can using only known hides limit the detection dog's effectiveness?
No, but here's the other thing I'll say.
Blind hides are not for the dog, they're for the handler.
Right. Because all the hides are blind for the dog.
Yeah.
Right? They have to use their nose.
What if it's a novice handler?
Still blind, still for the handler.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that I don't like is when I am coaching novice handlers and they're telling me that their teams are, well, no, you have to run these blind because that's what you're going to see on a test. Dude, they're a year away from being operational to test. The dog doesn't even have a solid trained final response. Let's create opportunities now for the handler to not know when to cue the dog up to do their trained final response, or if they walk odor, now the handler feels like they have to and are getting coached to walk their dog back into odor and cue the trained final response. Now you're creating a whole bunch of crap in their chain.
So as a new to search and rescue handler, I encountered that a lot of, well, you're going to have this on test day, so you need to do it now. And my dog didn't have a train final. My dog didn't know the things. We were very, very beginning. And it was a lot of, well, you're not going to know where it is on test day. So I didn't have the experience or the, you're trusting the people that you're training with. And so you're going with it, but then you're spending the next 2 weeks fixing the problems that you've just created. And it's getting really frustrating. And then all of a sudden you find that you're not doing search and rescue anymore. So what I'm curious is if there are listeners out there that might be feeling that pressure, do you have words of advice of things that they could say or to be able to help them just have some way of communicating to other people they're training with, maybe don't have the same thoughts that we're sharing now? Any suggestions on what they should say?
I have an idea.
Go ahead, Stacy. I have a whole litany.
Yeah. So without having to worry about the conflict, because sometimes people are worried, especially if they're new on the team, it's hard to kind of say like, hey, this is how I want to do stuff. Hey, I'm less than a year on a team, so I understand that part of it. Granted, I had for the AirSense stuff, I had Robin on speed dial, and had a tremendous amount of help actually, especially in the beginning. But what I would suggest is that you say, especially if you know either where you want to know where the subject is, or if you're doing HR, you want to know where the hide is, without actually saying, no, this is what I want. You could just say, I want to go after so-and-so. I want to watch their dog because I'll get a lot out of watching that dog also and not just running my own dog. So I'm kind of thinking as a suggestion, if you feel uncomfortable having that discussion, you could just say that you want to watch another dog because that's an additional education opportunity. Just throwing that out there. I haven't had to do that, but I've just that's a little bit of kind of just popped in my head that might be a low conflict way of handling that.
That's actually a really, really great way of handling that because it does give you the absolute, it will help you understand scent theory better. And I've done everything from, no, I want to watch other dogs work. No, I don't feel comfortable doing this blind, which is back to the more confrontational way. No, this is above my dog's pay grade. I'll use blinds above my dog's pay grade. Not ready to push him off the deep end yet.
My dog was injured a lot.
Yeah. I tell people, no, my dog's good. My dog ran one. They're fine. I was working with another handler and we were kind of having this sort of a discussion. And I was like, can your dog even play in that location? Because if your dog can't play in that location, your dog can't work in that location. And so, you know what? No, I don't want to run a blind problem, or no, I'd rather work on reinforcement right now and just working with my young dog. Those are always very valid things to offer that, hey, I want to work on this. Or you'll just be like, no, let me go last. I'm good. But you'll have to go first on a test. Yeah, test is a year from now.
Yeah. I also found very helpful for me, because my dog is a refined dog, that making sure that the subject has a working radio, so that, because when my dog finds a hide because she ranges a bit, hider, right? I want to make sure that she went all the way in and that she actually located the individual and not the individual scent pool. So even though I may know where that person's located, I want to have a working radio because I want to make sure that I know that she made contact, so that when she comes back to me and does her train final, that I know that it was done correctly and within the criteria that I've set with my dog. So for me, a working radio is actually as another piece of that when you have a refined dog.
Getting those logistics down for all of that sort of stuff. And the other thing that I find really important that people, if you are being forced into doing a blind and you don't want to do the confrontational stuff, literally ask the person that's standing right beside you, can you just poke me in the side or give me a word that says my dog has nose on odor?
Yeah.
But that requires you to actually trust the person who is going to poke you or tell you that it's there. It becomes really difficult sometimes. And the people are the significantly harder part of this whole entire relationship because people seem to always want to test the dogs when actually teaching and training the dogs is the most important part. But they're like, oh, hey, let's see what will happen. No, let's not.
Oh my gosh, that's a death to any training session right there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. That's the danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
Yeah.
For all of us who are a little older.
So, what are some common challenges faced when transitioning from known to blind hides?
So, in my opinion, a true blind from a nose work perspective should only ever happen in a trial. I want to put that out there.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know. That was like, right? There's a gauntlet for you.
Right? And that if you are working blind with your coach, that you do facilitated blinds only, because this is where you can build crap into your searching very quickly, very easily. Just don't do them. If you're trialing, and I think a lot of people tend to trial way too early, not necessarily in NACSW, because you also have the ORT stage gate. And the NACSW, like the NW1 is a little bit, can be a little harder to find. So it makes you wait a little bit. But in AKC, you can basically just look up the list, send in your entry, and trial the week after you introduce odor. I don't suggest that at all. I think there's a lot of people trialing way too early because it's fun. And that fun factor, I think, drives people to start doing blinds way too early. Just don't do it.
Well, and it comes back to, I like putting blinds in before I go certify or before I go trial.
Yeah, that's a test for just making sure you're ready for certification. It's a functional evaluation.
Right. We're doing evaluations. Are we operational level as a team? Because for me, that's what a certification is. It's yes, you are fully operational. And it's actually a confirmation of skill sets. It's not a test the skill sets and hope that we pass.
Even then, so just kind of going back to like the experience that, well, you did a blind for me.
Yeah.
We did a blind this
It
week.
was a facilitated, well, it was a blind.
It was, but if we think about it, I said, this is my strategy. And it was a good strategy. And Robin's answer was, you're going to find your subject in about 7 minutes. And it was
you can't go that way.
So don't go that way. And I said, oh, hey, I have another strategy.
And I'm like, oh, big shocker.
Let's do that. So, but even if you're doing kind of an evaluation to kind of see where you are, you should have a strategy ahead of time that then you can review with whoever is kind of giving you a little bit of an assessment to kind of see where you are.
Right.
And you can have that discussion before.
And one of the things too that I look at is when you start looking at the set, what are your goals of the training session? If I want to learn scent theory, or if I want to make sure my dog is learning scent theory, or I'm teaching them scent theory, you have to know where the hide is to do that. And this is how fast can I clear an area? Okay, that one you might get into. I don't need to know where the hide is, but can I work on moving while my dog sources odor and goes in and solves the problem? You kind of got to know where the hide is. Otherwise, you're going to telegraph, oh, I'm going to go full frontal on my hide.
Well, wait, Robin. So are you saying you want a training objective?
I know. What a shocking thing. So blinds absolutely have their purpose. And I'll tell you, I start getting little tummy cramps when I do blinds, but I've also evolved a little bit in my thinking that if I have trained my dog to do their job so well, a blind is actually an opportunity for me to find out what should be small tweaks to my training, not big, oh shit tweaks. Because typically if my dog hasn't found something in the search area or doesn't alert to it, it's because typically I haven't put them into odor that they can actually find it. And for me to be that confident in my dog, it's a boatload.
She's counting the number of
yes.
SH words that she's used.
It's a boatload.
I think that word's okay. You can have as many as you want.
Yes. Known hides. Because my job is to make sure that we cover the search area. The dog's responsibilities to, when they run into odor, to source it and tell me about it. And if we are very clear about that, those are our job responsibilities, making sure that they know that when you find odor, you solve the problem and you tell me about it, no matter what I'm doing or what like 3-piece band is going on in the background. That takes a lot of known hides.
Right. And if you do blinds too often, that's the thing that we see on the nosework side is people who trial a lot, meaning they're doing blinds a lot.
Right.
And I think it's probably similar on, especially if you have a newer handler and they're doing a lot of on really anything that you're doing, the more you do
Right. The more opportunity for error, because probably the best way that I can think to explain to people about working blind hides is you are inserting a chaos factor into your training program that you can't necessarily control. And I'm too much of a control freak to actually enjoy introducing chaos factors into my training. So, yeah. So think about that because when we talk about manipulating criteria, I can't manipulate chaos very well. And so if I have too much chaos in my training, by doing it as a blind, then and maybe I should start calling them chaos gremlins, because then you have too many gremlins running around in your training.
So what I'm hearing is that a lot of people will say, like, when is my dog ready for blind hides? No, that's not what I'm going at. I'm thinking more, instead of it being, when is my dog ready? When is the handler ready?
Yeah.
And that's where my $500 price tag starts coming in.
So the question is, when is the handler ready to add blind hides? At what point would you start coaching one to say, now you should do it? So Stacy says, not until competition.
And I also think people trial way too soon.
I know that I couldn't wait until the day of certification to add in a blind.
Nope.
Mm-mm. You shouldn't. And I was at bird dog training yesterday, and my mentor, Doug, I was starting hold blinds with my dogs. And trust me on this story, it has a purpose, I promise.
It does. It actually, I know where she's going with this because I was watching.
Right. And so Flash is going, I can't do that. That's weird. What do you mean? We do this on the pattern blind field. We do this over here. We don't do this out in the middle of a hay field. I don't know what you want to do.
Define what a blind is.
A blind is where I basically line my dog up in a line and I say, go. And they are supposed to run until either I stop them or they happen to stumble across a bird or a bumper. And they're judged on how straight of a line they can run. I was pointing her at a big round hay bale that was about 40 yards away, not a long distance. She had never been targeted on a hay bale. So she had no idea that that wasn't even an option. And he looked at me and he's like, do a bird boy blind. And I'm like, what's that? So he sends one of the training people out there and he picks up the bumper, drops the bumper, and then disappears behind the blind or behind the hay bale. Flash gets to watch the whole thing. And now Flash is like, dude, locked and loaded. Got it. And that's an intermediate step to going to cold blinds in the hunting dog world. Facilitated blinds in the detection dog world are your intermediate step. So no, you shouldn't wait until you go to a certification or a trial to do your first blind. You should be doing facilitated blinds with somebody you trust that's not going to allow you to screw up your dog. And by the end of a facilitated blind, that person who is your coach says nothing other than excellent job.
And that is why I wanted to define those in the beginning, because that is completely different than doing a cold blind.
Right.
Yep.
Because typically when we're doing cold blinds and detection work, it literally is you do the whole entire thing and you call alert and the person goes, no.
Yeah.
When if they could have stepped in
and say, don't say anything, don't
keep walking, say nothing.
keep walking.
I believe there was a whole, do not use the A word, raise your hand.
Yeah, anything. Even then, the raising your hand is a little bit of a dog can cue in on that, but it was something to at least discuss. And then we would be like, no, keep moving, because
Keep
it was
moving.
all facilitated.
Right. Because we could do facilitated blinds then and help the dogs learn the whole concept of sniff and dismiss.
Right.
Yeah. Phew.
It's a much more complicated discussion than it, because it usually, I think from the nose work side or, scent work, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. I think people do it because it's fun. And I think we need to be careful that our desire to kind of test ourselves, because testing ourselves can be fun sometimes, is not necessarily a good long-term strategy. Because if you build in issues now, especially with a younger dog or a newer dog, it could curtail your ability to either do well in the future, or it could just kind of cap you out early. And you can create confidence issues with your dogs, especially with some of the dogs. Because in nose work, every dog can do nose work. And there's no, this dog isn't suitable, you need to find a different dog. There's none of that. So it runs all gamuts, all types of confidence levels. And if the dog making mistakes can be extraordinarily detrimental to a lot of dogs, you may find that some dogs just can't progress after that.
And let's be honest, we all have dogs that we would rather spend time training them to do fun, cool stuff versus going back and fixing things.
Yeah.
Right. And so it goes back. Foundations are the important thing. Spend a lot of time your foundations and go back and address your foundations a lot, because you always want to make sure there aren't any question marks.
And also if it helps you mentally, because I loved it earlier how Stacy said when the dog doesn't know how to be correct, and then how that starts that whole cycle and then the frustration builds in. If you get in that situation, the thing that's really helped me is I go, instead of fixing it, this is just something I need to teach. And sometimes that little bitty reframe is enough that it can make me not spiral.
Yes.
Because I'm like, okay, this is just, I like teaching. I don't like fixing. So maybe that's a helpful little tidbit.
That is a very helpful tidbit. And I think if we would concentrate more on the teaching phase and then venturing into training, and remember our testing, my testing is about 5% of my training in air quotes for those people who can't see it.
Well, only Stacy and I can see it. So
no, I haven't had enough caffeine yet, people.
You guys, we got to wrap up today.
I know.
Can't wait till you're here, Crystal.
I know. 2 days. I'll be there.
2 days. Yay. Okay, everybody. I don't think we needed to. Do you want to do takeaways or not? I think takeaways is done. Yeah, known hides, people. Known hides. Okay.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
We need to adjust that to known hides. Oh, anyway.
All right.
Maybe cut that out. I don't know.
Oh, no.
No, thank you all for listening. Most importantly, have fun with your dogs and go train.
Canine Detection Collaborative! We appreciate the time you spend with us. If you liked this episode, not only should you follow us so you don't miss the next one, but please also rate and review us in your favorite podcast app. For info on collaborating with us, go to k9detectioncollaborative.com. That's K9detectioncollaborative.com, where you can find our socials and pick up our latest monthly freebie. Join us again to talk training in the next episode.